first area that we're walking through now is going to be the fiberglassing section. And you can smell the fiberglass already, but when we get there, it's really going to get rich. You can see a lot of our bathtubs being ready to be shipped out. They put out about 50 or 60 bathtubs a day. So this is the fiberglassing section here. Oh yeah. You can really smell it. Actually, what we're smelling originally, that first kind of wave, was this gel coat curing. So, number one, behind you, you'll see small molds for some of the smaller parts, like your cabinet liners. This is going to be a toilet pedestal here. You can see here, we've got a fender skirt, yes sir. Different things. You've got a spare tire cover there.
Looks like a battery box.
Battery box, that's exactly right. And of course your cabinet liner, you see it's got the curve. Yep. So what they're going to do is, you can see they're kind of dusty right now, but they can take tack cloths and wipe away all that dust. Then they'll put a couple different chemical agents on it. They'll do a sealing and a release. That will allow the part, once it's fully cured, to pop right off of the mold with a little bit of applied air pressure. There are four main parts to the body of an Oliver. There's the upper and lower shell and the upper and lower inner liner as well. The two liners come together to create the bubble. The bubble will then sit down inside the lower shell, and the upper shell will encapsulate that. And essentially what they're going to do here is, when it's next in line, they're going to put an ultra bright white gel coat on this mold, and that's going to cure, and then they'll go to the next step. That ultra bright white gel coat is transportation grade and is a lot less likely to suffering damage from your standard rocks kicking up from your tires and stuff like that. This one here is obviously an upper liner, okay? So you can see that this is going to be where your cabinet shelving is and stuff like that. Once the part's pulled off of this, they'll cut the holes out for the cabinet and stuff. This will be the upper half of your front door. You can see here, this is what's happening here, what I just talked about, but on a smaller scale for the spare tire cover. He's putting that gel coat on now. And once he gets his desired thickness there, he will set it aside and let it cure. Over here is an entirely different process going on. After the gel coat, they're going to need to start building up the fiberglass, right? So they are chopping the fiberglass. Actually, a better place to see it would probably be, let's walk in there. Absolutely, but let's go this way, because we've got it going on here too. This is actually going to be a really good it's too close, because this fresh fiberglass on the floor will get on the bottom of your shoes and you will never get it off.
Try to get some of these guys.
So what's going on here is the gentleman with the gun in his hand, you can see he has this boom, and attached to that is a spool of fiberglass strand. That strand is going to run through and chop out of the end of that gun very rapidly small bits and pieces of fiberglass. Okay? When it goes onto the part, it's going to look much like this, very rough, and it's going to be mixed with a catalyst and a resin. The resin is what keeps everything bonded together, and the catalyst is what is eventually going to harden it and cause it to cure. Before they can do that, however, they have to go through and roll out any air bubbles between the fiberglass and the gel coat. What they're doing now, even though he did chop fiberglass out of the gun, now you can see he's only spraying resin and catalyst out because they're hand laying in extra pieces of fiberglass mat for added strength.
And they got to get in there with their hands.
Exactly right. So they're going to get all that stuff smeared in, and then they'll roll it with rollers you see how you can see air bubbles left over after they initially smeared it in? They'll roll all of that out. So that's pretty much it. Once the part is completely cured, which this one seems like it's still a little bit tacky, but it should be almost cured. they're going to pull it out. As a testament to how strong fiberglass actually is, I want you to look at this. This is fiberglass woven mat here that they've actually just glassed in with a few strips of fiberglass. That's what they're going to use to pull this big heavy part up and off the mold. So they'll have one on either side and they'll put an anchor on it and hoist it right off. So I mean it's very strong and resilient. There's only one area where there's actually kind of a frame built into the fiberglass, and that's on the lower liner. And that's because when this part comes off, there's a lot of, once they cut all these holes out and everything, it kind of makes it a little more flimsy. So as they're traveling with it from section to section, they need it to stay a lot more rigid. So I would give this that brand. Shower pan. Some of the shower units. They had fiberglass before they did. They also hired a couple of people that were that did fiberglass work for boats at a company called Catamaran in Colombia, which is the next town over. And they came in and glassed with them